needing to do it perfectly. Sometimes when people learn more about tapping, whether they've learned from watching videos or even people who have been to trainings, there are some people who are perfectionists or who get worried about doing things right, and they get very caught up in needing to do everything about tapping exactly right. So they get nervous about how many times to tap, whether or not they're tapping the right way on the points, and if they're using the right words when they tap. They can sometimes overcomplicate things. Some clients get very concerned about whether they should use two hands or one, or feeling like they need to do it perfectly somehow, or if they forget some of the words or if they miss points. There is some level of anxiety or stress about not doing it right. Like I said, it's more of a problem for people who tend to be perfectionists. That's very commendable in some ways. The neat thing about tapping is that it's very forgiving, and if you've looked around at all, you'll notice that people tap in very different ways. Some people tap really quickly. Some people only tap a few times on each point, and some people spend a lot of time on each point. Some people use two hands, some people use one. Some people cross their hands. Some people use very long and complicated setup statements, while others use extremely simple wording. So the question is, well, how do you do it? Well, you can do it however you would like to do it. But I have made recommendations in this DIY tapping system, and I've provided some alternatives in this troubleshooting section. So don't get too hung up on it, and don't get too hung up on any of the stuff you learn about it. Give it a try. Try to hold it lightly, but not so much so that you're flippant about it, but lightly enough that you don't get too caught up in the perfectionism of it. Some people, for example, feel they need to do the complete sequence in the right order. That's great, but if you're too focused on the physical, on the sequence, on the method, sometimes what can happen to someone who does that is that they get so focused on that physical technique and they start analyzing it that they miss the biggest point of tapping, which is to get connected with the emotion and the issue that you're treating. It's very important to stay emotionally connected with the issue if you can. Sometimes focusing on the technique can be an avoidance strategy, so be aware of that if you notice it come up. You want to get it right and learn everything about it when sometimes all you need to do is feel the feeling and tap on it. So don't worry so much if you're not doing it perfectly or exactly right. In this product, I present one way of tapping, and that is not to say that other approaches are not equally valid. It's one that I felt would be more foolproof for people to get the best results. But again, I don't want people to get hung up on that either. So don't worry about making it too complicated and don't feel like you need to do it perfectly.